Hello guys, and welcome to another Red Life Studio episode. Please subscribe and give me a like, and share my videos if you're enjoying them. Also, feel free to leave me a comment below. Now let's begin with today's stories.
I met my wife while we were in college. I had not dated too much, and she had dated a lot of guys, but not many serious relationships. We met at a party, and I finally got the courage to ask her on a date. We fell in love very quickly and developed a strong bond with each other. We were madly in love and couldn't get enough of each other. After graduation, we each moved out of our parents' house and moved in together in a new city where she had gotten a job. We set up house and were like many other couples in their early 20s living on their own. We did everything together and were deeply in love. We were struggling financially at first in our new city, because it took a while for me to find a job in my field. After several months, I was able to snag a job, and I worked my butt off to get ahead. After a few promotions, I was really killing myself at work, working 80 to 100 hours a week, and leaving my girlfriend, at the time, all by herself. I had a misplaced sense of propriety between work and my personal life. During this phase of our relationship, we got engaged and got married. She never seemed happier. We were the classic newlyweds, madly in love. I finally decided that work was interfering with our relationship and impeding our progress as a married couple, buying a house, starting a family, etc. I changed jobs and career paths, so I would only be working 40 or 50 hours a week, but working many nights and weekends. We bought a house and started to make a lovely home for ourselves. With our new home, we were strapped financially again, and were putting off starting a family until we could afford it. After a couple of years, fate intervened, and we were blessed with a wonderful daughter, now 13. We were the most proud parents in the world and happy with our slice of the American dream. As we transitioned from husband and wife to father and mother, we started forgetting to feed that aspect of our relationship. We were too tied up being two working parents trying to raise a child to focus on each other. That is where the distance started to grow, about 8 or 10 years ago. I thought that this was just a normal part of a married couple's timeline, and that as our daughter got older we would rekindle our relationship as husband and wife. Jump forward to this year. My wife communicated to me a few months ago that she was worried about our growing distance between us. The exact date is a debate between the two of us. It was either 3 or 5 months ago. That fact will become important. I explained how I thought that it was just a normal part of the marriage progression, but that we should work on it and make it better. I changed jobs again, so I could spend more time with my wife and family, a normal 9 to 5 Monday to Friday job. I gambled away 15 years with my old employer to take a chance with a new outfit setting up shop, so I can have more time with them. In June, my wife and daughter went back to visit her family like she does every year. I normally go with them, but since I had just started a new job, I was unable to go with them this time. My wife bumped into an old boyfriend while on that trip. The two of them had a pretty bad breakup, not too long before I had met her, and there were a lot of hard feelings. The old boyfriend said he was a changed person and wanted to talk to her and apologize for how things had ended in the past. She asked me if this was okay, and I told her that it was. Getting some positive closure on that relationship would be good for her. So my wife and daughter met with her ex and his daughter to go bowling. Afterwards, we talked about the meeting, and she told me how sorry he was how things had ended and he had made many mistakes in the past and how he was trying to fix them now he was a new and better person. She asked me if she could stay in touch with him as a friend, and I told her yes. She is friends with several of her old boyfriends and other male coworkers, and I didn't see how this was any different. Boy, was I wrong. I didn't hear any more about him or her speaking to her ex for the rest of the summer. But when she returned from that trip, I did notice that my wife had started locking her phone for the first time ever. She said that it was because our nieces and nephews had been playing with her phone, and she was trying to keep them out of it. The rest of the summer seemed to go by pretty normally, but my wife seemed to be growing unhappy and was starting to have some issues. One of the big ones was a miscarriage she suffered 10 years ago, and how I and the rest of our family reacted to it. She ended up going to a therapist to help her work through them. It was roughly around this time, according to my memories, that my wife brought up the distance in our marriage and her being unhappy in our relationship after the June trip and meeting her ex. I suggested that we work on our relationship, but neither of us followed through on that other than a few minor changes, like me putting my phone away and not looking at Reddit constantly. My wife had a few weeks of vacation in August, and again I could not be off due to my new job. So my wife asked me if she could go back to her hometown, since my wife's father was having some health issues. I told her of course it was okay, and again I was sorry that I could not be there with her and her family. There was a lot of family drama going on in her hometown due to the health issue and some of her siblings acting out. I suggested that she get a hotel while she was there to give her a safe refuge from the drama. We have been doing this when I would go with my wife to visit her family. She agreed to that and thought it was a good idea too. While my wife was there, my daughter ended up spending most of the time at her cousin's house so she could bond with them and have fun playing with them. So my wife spent almost the entire week by herself in the hotel. While there, my wife seemed really distant and we did not stay in contact much. Only a couple of phone calls a day, one in the morning on my way to work and one at night when she got back to the hotel to go to sleep. There were hardly any texts between us the whole week. While she was on her way home, I called her to check and see if she was okay and how the drive was going. My daughter picked up my wife's phone, and I asked how far they had driven so far. My daughter said, "Oh, we are at her ex's mother's house." This would not have been an issue, but she never told me she was stopping there on her way home. My wife said she had told me she was stopping there. She most definitely did not, and then said she was going to call me and let me know as soon as she had left there. I was paying our cell phone bill later that night, and since our contract was coming up, I wanted to check our usage since we had been having a lot of data overages and should probably upgrade our plan. While looking at the phone call usage, I noticed a number I hadn't seen before, and that there were several calls to that number. Warning bells started ringing, and I started digging some more. I discovered more than 6.5 hours of phone calls to that number, and more than 2,000 text messages back and forth. I started to freak out, to say the least. When she got home, she seemed like a completely different person. She did not seem happy to see me. She was more happy to see our 2 cats, or happy to finally be home. She seemed very distant emotionally and even physically. She wouldn't hold my hand, she wouldn't sit next to me, not that we did that all the time anyway. I started to get really worried that I had done something to make her angry, or there was something else going on. Later that night when we went to bed, I asked if we could talk. I told her how differently she was acting since her return and asked if she was happy to see me. She told me of course she was just acting that way because she was tired after her long journey home. Then I blurted out, "So whose phone number is hashtag 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 dash hashtag 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 hashtag?" She quickly said that it was her ex's number and instantly accused me of spying on her. I explained that I had innocently stumbled onto the number, but the sheer volume of contact has me concerned. She assured me that he was just a friend and that there was nothing to worry about. We talked a lot more that night and brought up a lot of other issues, including the growing distance between us. We continued to talk almost every night that week, and the more we talked, more details would come out. She let slip that she had lunch with her ex, and then a little later that he had taken her out to dinner for her birthday. I asked her why she did not mention this while she was on her trip, and she said that she was afraid of how I was going to react, and that she was waiting to tell me in person. She said that my grilling her about the phone number had put her on the defensive, that is why she hadn't brought it up at the time. I was growing more and more concerned that there was something going on, and that she had slept with her ex while she was there. The fact that she was in the hotel all week alone, with a king bed, which she insisted on getting when we booked the room, she had bought new clothes for the trip, and she had made a few other changes right before she had left for her trip. During one of our conversations, I came out and asked if she had slept with him or had done anything physical with him. She assured me that she had not, that he was just a friend and she bought those clothes and made those change to show off to her family. I was not 100% convinced, but I had never before had any trust issues with her, so I believed her. After returning from her hometown, she went to visit her therapist, and they talked about my accusations and her friendship with her ex. I had suggested that we go to couples therapy, and her therapist agreed and recommended one of her colleagues. We started seeing our couples counselor about a month ago. At our first couples therapy session, he started out talking about couples drifting apart and how that we can overcome this by having date nights, making more time for each other, etc. I was growing more and more anxious that we were leaving out a big piece of the puzzle, her friendship with her ex and all of the secrecy surrounding it. I ended up interrupting the therapist and blurting out that issue and then going on for 10 or more minutes with the details of what had happened. I thought that this was important information that she needed to know, and it couldn't wait for another session. In hindsight, I realize how wrong I was to handle that issue that way. My wife later told me she had felt attacked and she was deeply hurt and would have fled the office if I had not been sitting closest to the door. That was not my intention, and I deeply regret how I acted. I apologized to her several times, and I also apologized to the therapist at our next session. She still resents me for doing this and is holding it against me. Between sessions, it felt as if my wife was growing even further apart from me. She was cold towards me and did not initiate any contact with me. I was trying to be a better person and husband, and paying more attention to her and being more affectionate, since that had been lacking before. She told me that I was smothering her, and that I needed to dial it back a lot. We were still having our long, deep discussion almost every night. During one of these talks, she finally admitted that she had developed feelings for her ex. I explicitly asked her if one of those feelings was love, and she said she didn't know. She then said that she loves lots of people, friends, family, etc. I said that was not the kind of love I was asking about, it was romantic love. To that she said no, there was romantic love. I was growing more and more concerned that her friendship was way more than just a friendship. It seemed to me that she was not fully committed to our couples therapy and fixing our marriage and its issues. There was still this big disconnect between us, and I was making a lot of changes and working hard to try and improve our relationship. She continued to stay in contact with her ex, via text and phone calls, and even starting video chatting via Skype. We have had a couple of more sessions with our couples therapist and her individual therapist. She let slip that there was something that her therapist told her she should only talk about together in our couples session. We had to wait almost 2 weeks between sessions due to some scheduling issues. I could not wait that long to talk about the elephant in the room. Not knowing what that secret issue was making me anxious and nervous. My mind kept going to the worst case scenario. She slept with him, she was pregnant, she was in love with him, she was going to leave me, etc. After a rough few days and some convincing on my part, she broke down and told me what it was. She said it was the hardest thing she had ever done in her life. She finally admitted that she loved her ex-boyfriend, and that he loved her too. She said that she loved me, but that she was not in love with me any longer. She both loves her ex and was also in love with him. I had pretty much known this already, from everything that had been going on. At the time it felt good to have it out in the open. I felt better and she seemed to as well. Later she began resenting me, and told me I had manipulated her into revealing her secret and violating her therapist's instructions. She still is holding this against me. We have continued to see our individual therapists and our couples therapist. He is very good at what he does, but my wife does not seem to be fully committed to the process, and is just going through the motions. I am trying so hard, but one person can't fix a relationship. Our therapist, as well as her and my therapist, recommended that she stop all contact with her ex while we are trying to fix our relationship. She flat out refuses to even consider this option. She is constantly on her phone on Facebook, sending PMs and texting. She does it right in front of me, but conceals it so I can't see who she is texting or what she is saying. I know she is not in contact with her ex all the time, but I know she is communicating with him some of the time. All of the texting and typing on her phone is causing me a lot of anxiety and paranoia. My mind goes straight to the worst case scenario. It is him she is talking, she is sexting, etc. I have told her how much it bothers me and how it is affecting me, but she doesn't care. It almost seems like she is doing it intentionally to hurt me. I have asked her to casually mention what she is doing, not any details, just letting me know that she is not texting him. Our therapist thinks this is a reasonable compromise, but she absolutely refuses to even consider it. We have gone on a few adults-only dates, strongly recommended by our therapist, and while we had a good time, she didn't seem fully engaged. Like we were friends hanging out, not a couple on a date. Deep down, I know what is going to happen, but I don't want to give up and tear our family apart. My wife is in the driver's seat, and she is headed straight for the cliff. My heart is breaking, but I know in time it will get better. I am much more concerned for our daughter. She is a truly innocent victim in this whole thing. Edit, I wanted to thank each and every single person who has commented on my post. I truly appreciate your comments, advice, and most importantly your support. It has helped me more than you will very know, to know that other people are out there who are on my side, and others who have been through similar situations and have come out in one piece. There has been a huge development that happened over the past day or two, and I won't know the outcome for several more days. I will post an update when it has taken its course, and we know what the end result is. Thank you all again. Edit 2, my wife knows about this post, she has not read it yet, but may at some point. I warned her that she wouldn't like what is being said. I have altered a few of my replies to preserve some private info. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you would like to see more, feel free to subscribe.